Hi, my name's Lexi. I'm a farmer and also cook a lot, spend a lot of time outside, and this is a layered onion. I thought it was really special because a lot of the people that were a part of the event and that brought me into the event are also people that I share life with and time with outside of that event too. We do cook meals together and farm together and do really intimate things like that. So being a part of that event where we kind of tied in the farming season with a bunch of dishes that all meant something to us culturally was really beautiful. Yeah, I cooked fried cabbage, like southern fried cabbage, and also smothered pork neck, which was really cool. A really long process, the pork neck, a low and slow dish. So being able to do that around other people who were also cooking dishes that meant something to them was really special. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny. I started cooking just for my friends. A lot of us are low income, and being a farmer means you just have access to a lot of food. And if you grew up low income, you don't necessarily know how to cook it. But it's around, so I was just, even though it was intimidating, I pushed myself to learn how to cook things and called my grandma whenever I was I need to know how to cook something. But of course there's no certain recipes if you're calling your grandma. There's no measurements and things. It's just ingredients and spending the time to understand the way the flavors and time just works together to make something really good. So I think learning with other people who also felt the same way is a really good start. I feel a lot of us aren't used to having fresh food or food just readily available. So finding other people that are also in that predicament and figuring out ways to talk to the people who do know or have more experience on the land, and getting together in that way, I think is a really good way to just start. Because I think the biggest hump is what do I do with all of this stuff now that it's in front of me? And I think a lot of other people in that same position. I think this is my fourth season. This year was my fourth season. I started at Troy Farm on the north side just as a farm worker. And they taught me a lot. I think it was really emotionally volatile for a lot of people because farming, I think especially for Black and Indigenous people, is very traumatizing because it's hard labor, and it's something that comes with a lot of history, of land seizure and also forced indentured servitude, basically. So it was really hard to get into it and feel like it was a space where I belonged and a couple other people that were working that season. But yeah, I started there, did that for 2 years, started working around just on different farms. And now me and a couple friends have some space that we grow on. Yeah, I think it's definitely passed down. I mean, I didn't grow up farming, but I grew up in rural town, in rural farming communities. And I'm from Rockford too, so a lot of people who, my grandma included, who came up here during the Great Migration, who were basically escaped sharecropping. And you grow up with those stories of I'm never going to do that again. My body is my body, and there's so much trauma on the land that you end up, a lot of people in that generation ended up associating the trauma with the land itself instead of, realizing it was systems in place by systematic racism and white supremacy. It wasn't the land that was hurting them, it was the people enforcing those horrible things onto them. So it is confusing when you grow up with somebody who experienced those things firsthand to kind of separate it. And yeah, so it was a lot of emotion in the first couple of years, and still every year, this year too. I mean, it's always learning and trying not to work yourself too hard, but making sure that once you put a seed into the ground, you have a responsibility, and seeing it to the end when you can save those seeds again and get to know those seeds better. So it also comes with a really big blessing that you always have to remind yourself of, even if it's hard. Oh my gosh, every year it's so many things that I just get to know better and I just feel closer to. But I think sorghum this year for me was changed my life. Yeah, seeing it from seed to this little plant where I couldn't distinguish it at all from like grass or anything. So I couldn't weed because I didn't want to pull up these like precious little babies. So it was just like kind of a mess, just weeds, which whatever. I like having weeds in the garden. That wasn't the problem, but I just couldn't tell what the sorghum was. So getting to like learn it through all of its stages, to see this plant that's basically like towering over me, 10 feet in the air. There's this big like bushel of grains at the top, and then the stalk is really similar to sugarcane. And at the end of the season, we harvested all the stalks and pressed them down and cooked them into sorghum molasses, which, I don't know, just getting everybody together to do those things too. Like not only the plant itself, but like the power of the plant to bring people together consistently and through all of the different stages of its life to provide. I wouldn't say it's super similar to rice, but you can cook it and use it in a lot of similar ways as rice. Or you could dry it and grind it into flour. You can use it pretty similar to how you would use like traditional flour. So it's really versatile. Like I'll use it anywhere that I would put cornmeal, or anywhere that I would put flour. That's my favorite way to cook it, is when it's ground down to a flour. But you can also cook it as the whole grain. It's very, I don't know, similar to other grains in taste. Like it doesn't necessarily like hit you with flavor, but it absorbs all of the flavor around it. It's so good. I would say I grew up cooking with my grandparents, but I was a very like food insecure child. Like childhood was very uncertain if food was around. So I didn't really start cooking until I was at the farm, and then I was like, I have all of this food. I have no idea how to cook any of this food. Yeah, so started really cooking within the past couple years. I feel like staples always salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and then I'll usually have like some sort of spice. I gravitate towards berbere a lot, which is like an Ethiopian hot pepper.
Oh.
I worked at Baraka for like 3 years, so just that flavor every day for 3 years solidified it in my mind that it was just like something I wanted to cook with. I think realistically, it was an escape tool for a while. Like as much as I was curious about the places I was going to, it was also like a way for me to get away and remind myself that there's good people in other places. Ecuador, I was studying abroad, and that was amazing and interesting at the same time to see the way that colonization has like affected different areas of the world and continues to affect. I think that's another thing too, like seeing and getting to know people who are living basically like the same reality, but with different effects. I also just love being outside and seeing different plants. I'm a botany major, so plants make me super geeky. Like, I just love seeing different ecosystems and the way plants have adapted to the place that they're at. It definitely has. I mean, for sure, ups and downs, but I can't think of anything that I'm more grateful for than the ability to just like work on the land. But yeah, I had a very troubled childhood, I would say, and once you've like felt your body sort of absorbing itself to keep you going, like that kind of hunger, I feel like it just shapes who you become. Like nobody should have to experience that. No child especially should have to experience that. I mean, like, it's enough for me to just keep doing this. I don't see myself doing anything else, because like you said, like if you can't eat, you can't do anything else. Your brain like can't develop. And I feel like I could be so much further in like my emotional intelligence in other areas of my life if I would have just been able to have meals consistently as a child. So that's been healing for me, to just, I mean, all the food that I grow now is given away for free in some capacity. And I don't intend to change that, because food shouldn't cost money, especially for people who can't afford it. I mean, food is something we all need, same as clothes and housing, all of these things, money. You can't put a price on those things because what about the people who can't pay? So it has been healing to see all of this food just like go into people's homes, or like pre-cooked meals, like hot meals that are available for people to eat, and they don't have to worry about some exchange that they need to give. It's just there. The exchange, I think, is just like spending time together. So it has been really healing, and also back-breaking labor. Consistently like under the sun for 8 hours. Just, we don't have tractors or anything on the acre that we grow on, so it's all by hand, and it's just like, that'll teach you a lesson in and of itself, like on patience. Oh yeah, I feel like I've sort of made my way through a lot of different mediums, but the most consistent is definitely painting. I love painting. I love the way that you can just keep mixing and mixing colors together and always creating different values.
Acrylic, watercolor?
Yeah. Okay. Usually I'll gravitate towards acrylic, but I dabble in all the others, like oil and watercolor and stuff like that too. I really like painting people that I know, and using different values that I feel like aren't. When you get into painting, I feel like there's values that you see, like oranges and reds, that might not necessarily be super dominant, like if you were just looking at a person, but the way you can like cast shadows with purples and blues, like colors you don't actually like see directly on people's faces, and like bringing out their character like by using those colors is super beautiful. I wish I would have brought something. I started painting in high school. It was kind of it started as a side hustle. I would just do like people's names on little pieces of paper and sell them for like $5 a pop. And then it grew into like this, being a part of like the Rockford art community and doing little art shows and painting with a lot of different people, and also like paying for my groceries and stuff that way. While I was in high school, it just became a hustle, and then I realized that I really loved it and kind of moved into animation too. I realized how much stop motion animation was a part of my childhood, and I wanted to make something like that. So I started doing stop motion claymation for a while. I still do it every once in a while, but I live with cats, so it's kind of hard to not have cat hair on everything. And I do a lot of digital art now too, a lot of digital animation. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the animations have something to do with like land or plants in some capacity, or like stories that my family has told me over the years. Finding a way to retell them in my mind, like through art. It started off as a project in undergrad for, I don't even remember what the class was called, but the whole class was just creating a project of your choosing. It could be any sort of media that told a story about food systems. So I started writing it in that class, and I knew I wanted to talk about just like dinner time and the way, I don't know, my grandma tells me stories about how her and all of her siblings and her parents lived in this basically like sharecropper shack in Mississippi, and they would go out to the garden to get all of the food that they would be eating. Like everything that they ate down there was something that they were taking care of. So I wanted to make a story just about dinner time and what that meant to me, like from hearing the stories that she's told me. So it's kind of grandma and her grandson going out into the garden, picking foods to make a dinner together. And the process of like cleaning the plants. And I don't know how to describe it, but it's very intimate little grandma-grandson dinner time. I was really lucky. Even though I was moving around a lot of the places I was staying were like intergenerational households. So you did grow up like with that older generation sort of giving you guidance. And just by telling their stories, maybe they weren't like directly giving you a lesson on like how important it is to do these small things together. But you just did it because grandma said so, you better do it. Yeah, I think it is the introduction of the nuclear family and that being everybody's like main focus on the nuclear family instead of the block. Like, how's the block doing? I think that's really, I have visions of everybody like coming together and loving each other, but that really doesn't start until you know who's on your block, or at least in your neighborhood, and you guys are actively taking care of each other. Like, I think money does get in the way of people being able to help each other. Yeah, I agree. I don't think community has been completely lost, but it's not favored in society. So it's really, you have to go out of your way to make it happen. And yeah, I'm hopeful though that just seeing the people in this generation who are farming, I know I'm talking about farming a lot.
Oh. Yeah.
Who are like making that choice to just go outside and do something really hard because they want to learn how to do it. Or like, there's so many steps to that too. Like, I know some people who are going back to school to learn carpentry who haven't like known carpentry in their like lineage for generations. Just those little things, like you need all of those skills to build a community. And if we're really starting at so many people having degrees but no like knowledge, then it's going to be a long walk. But I think we're on the way. For a long time was under the belief that like I didn't want to eat meat unless I knew where I was coming from, which is hard to do because meat that you know where it's coming from is generally a lot pricier or just like harder to come by. So I decided instead of being just stopping there, like, why not learn how to hunt? Why not like learn how to process these meats? And if you get a buck, you can share that with 10, 15 people. Like, you're not just getting sustenance for yourself. Like, you can spread this being that gave its life to all of these different people that you care for. Same with fishing and stuff. Like, it's something that was so integral to like Black survival that I feel like we are losing actively and have lost for a lot of people whose families like made the trek to the north. Taking a life is intense and also beautiful. Like, something gave its life to feed you, and finding your way back to that in a way that like makes sense to you is really beautiful. I think it's so important for people, like people of color specifically, because there's so much shame behind it, and because it is such a powerful thing that you're doing. I don't know. I was scared of it until I started hanging out with this one guy, and he was like, "Come fishing with me." And I was like, wait, Black people don't go fishing? What are you talking about? I'm scared. I'm scared of water, particularly because I like also didn't like grow up knowing how to swim or anything. So I just have a respect for water. So having somebody who was like willing to just like bring me out there, even if I was just watching, like showing me how to do all the little steps to set up the rod and actually like fishing itself, and then seeing a fish die for the first time, I was like, whoa, I want to keep doing this. And then cooking it too, learning how to fillet, like all the different steps, using the bones for different things, the heads for stocks. Like, there's so many things you can learn just by learning how to fish. Probably to take care of your sister is better. And even though it feels like you're not going to make it to adulthood, like you will, and it'll be good eventually. Like, things will just work out and you won't have to fight every day. So put more effort into like the people who are around you now. I think that would be the best thing. Stop being so volatile. Not everybody's out to get you. My name is Lexi. I talked a little bit about my farming experience and also cooking with the community and being outside with the community. And this is Layered Onion.